Hey everybody, it's Drew. Welcome back to my channel. So in this video, I'm going to build the Hasegawa 1/48 scale Focke Wulf Fw-190 A-8. I did do an inbox review of this kit, so you can check that out. That's my previous uploaded video, and I'll have a link in the description as well if you'd like to check that out. But yeah, I'm looking forward to building this, so let's get going. Okay, so we're going to get going with the cockpit. That should be no surprise if you do airplane models. So I'm just going to cut these parts out, get them cleaned up, get it all glued together. I decided to leave the instrument panel off. I'm going to paint that separate because there are some decals that go onto that. And you do get some little consoles here for the sides of the cockpit, and just gluing those in. They fit really nice. There's some locator pins, and yeah, we'll just get this built up. Do a little detail painting in a little while, and hopefully look okay. So while the cockpit is drying, I'm going to assemble a landing gear base. So I'm just moving on to a step, because I'll explain here in a little bit that I want to prime and paint the interior parts at the same time. And so I'm going to go ahead and get this part assembled and get it ready for priming and painting when I do the cockpit as well. Okay, let me pause for a minute and show you what I'm up to. So I have the cockpit assembly completed, and I'm going to leave the instrument panel separate because it'll be easy to put the decals on, and I can just attach it here. And then, of course, I'm going to paint the inside as well. And I'm going to be using RLM 66. German dark gray, black gray, whatever it's called, for the interior part. And I also assembled the landing gear bays right here, and that's going to be painted RLM02, and so that's the German light gray. And so what I want to do is I like to try to prime, things at the same time. There's a few parts that are going to be painted RLM02, so I like to paint those at the same time. That way I don't have to worry about getting my airbrush out again, and just, it will save time. So RLM02 is also used in the inside of the engine cowling, and also for the inside of the landing gear doors and the struts. And so what I'm going to do is just basically, assemble these parts to the struts, let them dry, and then I'm going to paint all those RLM02. Same thing with these parts here. Basically anything to do with the undercarriage and landing gear is going to be painted RLM02. Tongue twister for me. So I want to do all those, and then that way they're done, and I don't have to get the airbrush out again to paint other stuff RLM02 when I can do it all at the same time. So if that makes sense. Okay, so and plus two, it'll save time on priming. So I'm going to prime everything at the same time, and then do the painting at the same time. So, all right. So I'm going to get going with the cowling, and I don't think I'm going to paint the parts separately. I think I'm just going to build it, and you can just, again, how much of this are you really going to see? And I can just use my airbrush to spray down inside of it. It'll work fine. Okay, so, and I've left a lot of parts on the sprue because it's easier that way. So the first thing I'm going to do is this little part right here. This is some exhaust areas. That's actually going to be painted burnt iron, but I can paint that on the, while it's on there. So that attaches to A2, which is, I believe it's, this one right here. So let's put that on there. So I primed everything in Vallejo gray primer. I didn't show that, but now I'm going to paint this RLM 66 on the interior parts. This is Vallejo Model Air, and once all this is dry, I'm going to apply some decals to the instrument panels and also make some seat belts for the pilot seat. So the instrument panel decals are included with the kit decals. I'm not using the kit decals because they were yellowed and pretty thick, but I thought these might look okay. In order to use these though, you do have to sand down the raised details on the instrument panel and the side consoles. So I took a chance. I think these turned out pretty good. Again, I'm not going to be using the kit decals for the main markings. The decals were yellowed out and pretty old, so I did get some aftermarket. And I'm going to paint the pilot seat here with some Tamiya red brown, and I'm going to paint the foot pedals with some Tamiya aluminum, and just to give it a little life here. Okay, so I made some seat belts and shoulder harnesses out of aluminum foil Tamiya tape, and all I do is take some Tamiya tape, put it on top of some aluminum foil, paint it khaki, and start cutting out thin strips, and then I super glue those in. Maybe a little out of scale on the shoulder harnesses, but it gives it a little bit of life. I didn't feel like buying any aftermarket sets for this kit, except for the decals, but the decal sheet does not come with a decal for the seat belts and shoulder harnesses, so I'm just gluing them in. And when I get them glued in, I take a silver marker and I just highlight some areas and give it the illusion of buckles. Again, it's for my enjoyment. I'll leave, if the cockpit's closed, you won't see them very much, but I like doing it. It's kind of fun, but sort of it's definitely the easy, cheap way. But it can work if you take your time with it. Okay, so here I'm going to use some RLM02 to paint the wheel wells, the main landing gear, the inside of the cowling, and also the inside of the landing gear doors. This is that interior color, and this will allow me to start getting parts together on the fuselage and putting everything together. Here you see I just left the landing gear doors on the sprue, and here I am painting the inside of the cowling. And now I'm going to paint the landing gear wells right here and main landing gear. And before you assemble the wings and install the landing gear wheelbase, you got to drill some holes for the drop tanks. Drop tank, basically. The kit gives you two different styles of drop tanks, and I found the style that I'm going to be using for the markings I'm going to use for this kit, and drilled out the proper holes. And now I'm going to use some Tamiya extra thin to get this landing gear wheelbase in place here, and then once that's done, I could add the top part of the wings to the lower part here. So the wings went together without any issues, and here I'm just using some thick Model Master cement to get ready to attach the fuselage halves. As you can see, I did put those together. Somehow I left that off camera, but it went together really well, and the cockpit fits up inside, and it went together really nice. So I was told when I did an inbox review of this kit to really make sure you dry fit this step, because one side of the wings, basically I believe it was the right side or starboard side, doesn't fit well, and you have to basically sand off some of the locator parts, or you're going to be left with a really big step on that wing root on the right side. So I did that. I just again dry fit, test it, get it to where it fits fine, then there's no big step there. And here we have some basically some access points or access ports. It looks like these are maintenance hatches. You just put those on. There's little locator pins here, and on the bottom you have some access hatches for the guns, and you just put those in. It goes together without any problem. So I'm going to take care of the wing root gaps, and I like to use this Vallejo plastic putty, even though my tube here is wearing out big time. So fortunately I do have a regular Vallejo bottle of this stuff handy. For whatever reason, this tube is leaking. It's got holes in the side, and every time I squeeze it, it's got putty coming out the sides and gets on my hands, makes a mess. So I'm going to use some see. So I'm going to resort to my Vallejo bottle of the stuff that I keep handy, and just, smush it in with some toothpicks. And then once it's dry, and I like to let it set for about a minute or two, you just take some wet cotton swabs, and smooth it all out. This is water-based, so you don't need any solvents. And for a wing root like this, I don't need to do any sanding. So once you smooth it out with some wet cotton swabs, it looks really nice and takes care of that joint. You might notice too that on each wing, about halfway down, you do see some filler, and that is for a gun barrel mount that Hasegawa has you install. Now, whatever reason, on the lower part of the wings, they cut that part out. It's already pre-made, basically. So on the top part of the wings, where you have to attach separate, you have to cut them out. And of course, I gouged out way too much. It looked very ugly when I put the machine gun mount in, and you'll be able to see here when I turn it over, you see the holes where you put the barrel in. But there's a machine gun mount there, so I filled it in. The gaps that I had on top, I used some of this stuff. I also went back over it with some Tamiya white putty and just smoothed it out, and hopefully that'll take care of it. So I'm pretty happy with the way this is turning out. It's been a pretty fun kit so far. Everything's fitted really well except for that gun mount thing. But I'm going to leave it right here, guys. So in the next video, we're going to get to painting and move on to finishing it up. So thank you for staying with me here, and take a look at the video that's popping up on your screen. I know you'll like it.